Hello and welcome to Code or Not to Code. This is our new live stream, our first episode. I'm Mili Eva. I'm really happy to be here today, and I'm joined by the wonderful Stefan. How are you doing?
Well, I'm super excited about our joint venture here. So let's see how this is going.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got planned for you guys a new project that we're going to start today. And it's in a little bit of a festive mood. We want to build an AdventQRlendar. What is an AdventQRlendar? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's kind of like an Advent calendar. So you've got 24 doors and you open them, you start on the 1st of December, and the last one will be the 24th of December, Christmas time. But instead of chocolate, we will have QR codes behind the little doors. So that's why it's an AdventQRlendar. And yeah, we want to build that with you. We're going to start today and hopefully finish by December. Yeah, how are we going to start? What's one of the first steps we want to take for today?
So let's go into the shared view. So this is here the repository. We commit this all public, so you can join our journey. So the link to the repository is here. I will also put this one into the chat. For you to follow. And we asked ourselves when we had this idea about what technology to use to build the AdventQRlendar. And we definitely wanted to do something with .NET and wanted to give this application to the user. And we thought that Blazor is the right thing to do. So Blazor is a web technology for .NET where you can write, it's basically a combination of C# and HTML that you can write, the so-called Razor syntax, that you can write your client web app with. So it's actually really a client app that runs on the client, like somewhat comparable to JavaScript. However, there is only little JavaScript involved. Blazor is based on the WASM, the Web Assembly technology, which since a couple of years most modern browsers now support. And for that, we have started a new project. If I find the correct tab, there it is. So what we did like just half an hour ago, we created a new project. That's not the view. Let's open the new project view. So we literally hit create new project. We selected C# for all platforms based on Blazor, and then thought there is two models. There is either the server app model or the web assembly app model. So on the server app model, you would really have a server, an ASP.NET Core server, which is a server hosting technology. You can build web apps, you can build APIs, or also Blazor apps with ASP.NET. And so there is a part running on the server, and the client, the WebAssembly part, is via a SignalR connection connecting to that server. But since we want to do a full client app, so there is nothing hosted, we go with Blazor WebAssembly. There is no server, everything runs on the client in WebAssembly. So we basically clicked that, selected our name, and are now here. So perhaps to get a very brief introduction, since it's a ASP.NET Core application, there is a main program file where we do some setup. We start a WebAssembly host and have several pages. So there is something called the main layout. And the main layout now has here the component called nav menu. The nav menu, in return, we see there is a lot of HTML going on and some add notations. Now, those add notations are used to bind the HTML to the C# code. And actually, I think the other way around is more correct. And here we see 3 nav links. We have a counter and a fetch data. And if we run this application, it first compiles, then it starts up, and a new browser launches. And now we have those 3 menus here. We can go to the counter, and counter has a little click me where we can increase the counter. And this is the template that you get with the template that ships with .NET. We are using Visual Studio. You could also use Rider or any other IDE. And yeah, so this is our start point, and let's see how far we get in building an advent calendar.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. I've never done anything like it. Like just for, I mean, I guess our viewers maybe know you a little bit better than me, but just I'm really new to coding. I kind of started a couple of years ago and have been working in software testing for about a year. So this is all super new to me. So hopefully, yeah, this project will teach me a lot. I'm really excited.
Me too. Well, I'm doing .NET now for roughly 10 years, but my Blazor, or in general, in this case, my HTML experience is quite limited. So I will learn, I guess, at least as much as you do. Let's see.
Yeah. Great. So how do we start?
We are also using Visual Studio Live Share. So Eva is actually joining the session. We will sometimes see her cursor as well. So to have a bit of a collaboration going on. I thought about what we start, some copy paste. Let's create our own item here. And let's link this, not to fetch data, but let's call it calendar or QRlendar. I can't calendar.
Yes.
I really can't. I can't say it without laughing. And this now should point to a new page. So we will, via the File New dialog, we will create a new Razor page. And we'll call this, oh, that's not the right thing. It's a Razor component, yes. And we will call that QRlendar. Let's add this to the project. What we need is a add page directive and have this point to the path QRlendar. Let me briefly have a look if I did it right. Yeah. And then we show a advent calendar. Let's have a look if this works already so that we have the setup right. Starting up the app. Now we have, okay, I still have to edit the name, but here if we fetch data, here we now come to our QR calendar page. So we also see the path, the route up here. And yeah, now it's time to practice some HTML layout, isn't it?
Yay.
So I'm not sure. So I guess we also briefly had a look at CSS. There is a lot of, you can solve this with CSS quite powerfully, but yeah, I'm afraid my CSS knowledge is super limited. Okay. How about you?
Yes, no, I mean that's the thing. Like in the first coding classes that I ever did, obviously you start with HTML and CSS. But that was 2 years ago, and that's about all I know. But I'm sure with joined forces, there will be no problem at all. And obviously, if the viewers have any suggestions, you can always write it in the comments, and then we'll see if that works. Yeah.
How do we begin? Yeah, I guess, well, I think this is not always the most correct thing, but let's start with a div because I don't know any better. And we can always improve later. And perhaps this div now has, basically shows some text. I think that's a P, right? And we have like number 1 in it. And if we have like multiple of these, I think they arrange next to each other, won't they? Let's see. If we run that. Okay, not next to each other, but below each other. So perhaps we need some bit of a grid, I guess.
Yep.
What's that in HTML again? I will actually bring up a browser and have a look at some. That's a table, right? Should we start the HTML? Should we start with a table?
Yep. Let's start. That sounds good.
So we could have. Okay, we don't really need headers, do we? We just need table. That's one row, and we have data. Well, it's not divisible. Well, it's divisible by 4. Should we have 6 rows with 4 columns each? Because perhaps also thinking about the delivery model, since we at the end potentially want to have this printed, so it can really be gifted physically. Perhaps we think about it being portrait as the default mode. Maybe we can later on also have a landscape mode, but perhaps a portrait mode in the beginning is a start. Okay, now it comes to the HTML skills. So I hope we can just omit the headers, and we say, if I just say 1, 2, 3, 4, then have another row. Is that right? It's a row. Yes. Then we have another row with 5, 6, 7, 8. We see there is a pattern. Perhaps we could later on exchange this with some code and avoid some duplication here. But I want to really start naive because I currently, we can always refactor later. I think that's a principle at first, the KISS principle. Keep it super simple. And
I like that.
refactor later, because I actually tend to over-engineer a lot. So I was told.
I mean, those are the benefits of being a complete beginner. That there's really no way for me to over-engineer anything.
That's great. I envy you. No, that's it. I actually have to want to be there as well. Yeah, first have to get something running, ship it early. There was this this thought. Yeah. Okay, so we have
Woo, done.
Done. Okay, ship it. Okay, I guess now some CSSing would be helpful. Is this Blazor only, or is it? I think it's ASP.NET in general. You can have something as CSS isolation. So we have here the QRCalendar.razor file, and we can create in the same folder now a CSS file. If I find the template, is that a style sheet? That's a style sheet. And we call it the very same. We call it QRCalendar.razor, but with the CSS suffix. And I believe this already suffices that now this CSS that we have here is exclusively for this one component, the QR calendar component, or the page in that case. So whatever we do here, it's only scoped to this file and no other CSS. So we don't need to worry about name collisions, I believe.
Oh, that's really useful. That's really nice.
Yeah, I guess we need to have like a fixed width. Well, I guess later on, perhaps we should do some percentages so that the output format, it's not like only working for, well, in our region for A4 paper formats, but also for, I think the US American format is Ledger, and I guess there's a ton of other formats to print to, so they have a more dynamic layout.
I wasn't aware of that. Cool.
But I will start with a naive width, or what's again? CSS has like ID and classes. What's the difference again?
Oh my goodness, I've no clue.
I think one is bound to be unique, and the other one is may have multiple. I think the ID is unique and should be unique, and the class you may have multiple. So I guess perhaps we start with a class, and let's call this, what's one element in this? Is that a door? No, how would you call one thing,
Box?
one element on the calendar?
Yeah, maybe door or box or something like that. Yeah.
Box. And let's, oops. I hope the syntax is right. Does this look right? I'm actually on the second screen having a look at some CSS example. If this is somewhat all right. There is an ID. I want to have the class example.
Yeah, it looks right.
Yes, it is. Okay.
Yep.
Because I don't get any highlighting, this is what confuses me. I'm really dependent on highlighting. So let's add the class here. Oops. And here. And let's create the class. I think we just say the name, so that's box. And we set the width of this box to 20 pixel, perhaps.
Yeah, let's try that.
Let's run the app. And looks a little bit better, but I guess we need way more in between.
Yeah, I can barely see a difference, to be honest.
I'll go with a 50. Should we also, perhaps while at it, also a bit of a height?
Yeah, height.
Since it's a box. Should it be like rectangular? Perhaps let's go with, yeah, QR code is bound later on to be rectangular, so it should be a rectangular box. And height does not see, I'm missing a comma, right? Is a semicolon? Semicolon.
Semicolon, yeah.
And running the app. And we have, has something changed? Not really.
Not really, yeah.
But I may be doing something wrong. So we did call this thing box.
I guess.
Let's put it side by side. Or am I?
I think, do you have to, can you go back to the CSS file for a second?
Yes, down there.
But down there,
if you want to edit it, I guess we are live.
I can edit it. I've never done this. That's really cool. I am. Oh no, I'm a little bit confused. There we are. This is not it. This is it. I kind of can't see the window that you're. I did follow you, but I'm kind of not where you are right now.
Because I have. Does it work if I move it over here? Or perhaps can you find it in the Solution Explorer?
Oh, yeah.
If you go to Pages and then expand the QRCalendar.razor into the QRCalendar.razor.cs. In the meantime, I am actually trying if the CSS is applied. Maybe I did something wrong with the setup. Perhaps the CSS isn't actually applied because the background color also doesn't seem to work. I think I did something wrong with the setup of the CSS.
I think, do you have to put dot box instead of box? Is that something that might work?
Ooh, because the class has. Ooh, yeah, there's a difference between the dot and the hash symbol, isn't it? Between classes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yay!
yeah. Okay, okay. So dot. Ah, okay. I see. Because that's a CSS selector, and it should select all that are tagged with a class box. Okay, cool, great. So we now have a for grid. Okay. Now actually the experience that I just realized is I have to restart every time. There is actually something called hot reload, where you can change something in behind, and then it updates automatically. However, I'm not sure if I have this set up correctly. I'll give it a brief try, and if I haven't, I'll play. Yeah, I don't see. I have something set up wrongly on my system. I need to check that out and then have the hot reload experience on, so we don't have to what's it called, switch between. Yeah, always have to start up the application anew. We just can edit it and see the change immediately. I already have a follow up for the next session.
Yeah, totally. That would be good.
Uh,
Um,
would you say this suffices as a first grid, or is there something that
yeah.
you would like to
I'd
change?
I'd love to have some borders as well, maybe. So you can
Ooh.
actually have the little squares.
Now, how do we do that? I guess we could give the table.
I think
Excuse me.
I think you can just do in the CSS, right? In
Yeah,
the
but
CSS file.
for each box. Okay, okay. So there is a border, and we could have a solid. Is there a solid border? I guess we can also choose a color, but let's have a look at the defaults. Ooh.
Yay! And I think is there something I think it's called padding or something that we can apply as well to have a little bit of space between each
Sure.
box?
That's right. Hold on. There's a difference between padding and what's the other thing? Margin. I always forget
Ooh.
what the difference is.
I've only ever heard of padding. I don't know the other thing is. I
Let's
can Google
have a
it.
look. So we have padding. So we
And
pad. I think there is a. Can you recall how the syntax works? We can either have like special properties, or there is the padding. I think it's top. Like
yeah.
here we have an example. Oh, it says, okay. Ooh, great tooling.
Ooh,
Top, right,
nice.
bottom, left. I always forget about this. Okay. So let's say, let's do 10. I think if you only have one, it's from all these sides. But I guess we want to have the number in the middle. So since it's 50, we should do, I guess, so we also need to consider the size of the number. So perhaps let's have 20 from the
Yeah.
top, and from the right we don't need any, but from the, it's just a comma between, right? Then we have the bottom, but from the left also 20.
I'm not even sure if we need the comma, to be honest.
Oh, cool.
But I'm not sure. We'll see.
Ooh, okay. Not perfectly centered, but there is some padding going on.
Yeah.
I guess this later on then. Okay, well, the final thing should show. Actually, we need layers, don't we? We need like 2 layers. The bottom layer, which contains the QR codes later on. So we can then have a second layer which has the numbers on them, which can then be cut out and open accordingly.
Mm-hmm.
And so how do we go about that? Should we create another Should we focus on the QR code layer first, or on the top layer, on the door layer, basically?
I think we can maybe since we've already kind of started with the door layer where we have like the little numbers on them. Maybe you could finish this first and then just have a grid with kind of the same layout, but then instead of numbers, we can have QR codes. And I also think I love this idea, just because imagine if you can open a window or a door every day and like have, I don't know, a QR code to a funny song or a funny meme to start you off. Oh, I love this idea. Can't wait to gift it to my friends. But yeah, I think, let's start with maybe the top layer, or have you had enough of the top
No?
layer? Would you like to get into more
Sounds
back-endy
so,
stuff?
sounds great. How far do we take it, like about styling and theming? I guess so. Perhaps let's make it a bit of let's make it bigger. So let's give each box perhaps 100. And have let's double everything. And hot reload. Okay, I'm still hung up on the hot reload part. And ooh, that actually does work. That's sweet.
Perfect. That looks beautiful.
Perhaps we could do like, can we do like something like, this, to have like a bit of a, so if I change something here and hit this button, ooh, okay, this is amazing. So it is set up already. Okay, I thought I did something wrong. I guess we should do not an absolute thing, but more of a percentage thing, right? To be independent of the screen resolution.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or do we need to? What to consider printing later on? Do we need to have it fixed to like specific resolutions? Like, what's A4 again? That's like some 300 millimeters by 400, 800. I always forget the dimensions. So I'm not sure how to go about this actually. Do we have it absolutely set up already, or can we do it later?
I'm also not entirely sure, but like if we have like one PDF that you can sort of download and then do with it whatever you want, I guess we can fix it to whatever dimensions
That's
an
right.
A4 PDF needs. If that makes
So
sense.
okay, yeah. So we basically here focus, if I understand correctly, we focus here on the editing side of the story, and then later on in the PDF, then bring the correct formatting in.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Then, okay. Well, I guess then this for the non-print version. I guess this kind of suffices, doesn't it? Well, perhaps we could make it independent of the screen resolution. Now, I'm not sure, because perhaps if we want to, well, does it make sense to use this app on a mobile device? I think it's tough to attach a printer to it, but it could still be saved as a PDF, right?
Yeah.
And then sent somewhere else to be printed. So perhaps we should consider percentages. Yeah, I'm not all too good about relative dimensions. Can we like, so what's the width? It's like, if it's not absolute, it's depending on the parent, right? So I guess we need the, what if I say here 1%? I'm not sure what's going to happen. Okay. And if I say here 1%, I'm not sure if this is right.
Yeah.
I just changed to having to percent. And we get, perhaps padding, do we have, if we want to have it in the middle, right, then should be rather 50. But I think this is now relative to the parent, not to the box.
Yeah.
I am quite unsure how to go about that. Perhaps do we need these? Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do.
What if it? No, we must. We have to have the dimension. Not the yeah. I'm not sure how to continue. How to improve that. Do you have an idea? Oops.
I'm not too sure. Maybe we should stick to, I guess, fixed values for now, because percentage, or let's have a look on how to do percentages.
I'm also having a brief look at the thing you posted earlier in the chat.
Yeah.
As in the when we prepared for the session. Perhaps we can get an idea. So they're using a grid template CSS feature there, and I am quite unsure what that means.
Fabulous. Let's have a look. I was also thinking maybe we could like get the numbers to be a little more random, so you kind of have to look for your door.
Ooh, okay, yeah. So like totally random. So every time we open it anew, or yeah. How would you go about that? I'm actually now going back to the absolute position.
Yeah.
Perhaps I'll definitely research on some CSS layouting. Then perhaps we can improve this in the next session. Yeah, but think about randomizing. Okay, so we can't hard code these boxes anymore. We basically need to create this. And now this is the second part of the of a Razor file. We can have in the code part of it, we can actually write C# code. So I guess we can say here I'm defining a member, which perhaps we call rows. So we have 6 rows, and we have a number of columns with 4 columns. And outReload can't apply changes when actually changing code. Okay, so only CSS is, or at least in the setup that I have, how to be loadable. And we could now up here actually, instead of doing that, for each that. So actually add some code. What we do is we create a table row for the amount of rows that we have, and then for the amount of columns we have, we create a table data. So if we go here to say for each, or let's do a for loop. We can say we start at, let's call this I is 0, while it's lower than the number of, okay, we first do the rows that we have.
Yep.
And then increment by 1 for each, and have an inner loop. We also need a for here, I guess, which is the j. Also starts at 0 as long as j is lower than the number of columns. J++. Perhaps I'll rename the I to a row. That doesn't seem to work. And I'll go full screen. And the column to column. Now we basically do this just one time. We put in this block here. Let's get rid of the rest. And now we need some counter. So we can have, can we inline this here actually? I'm not sure. Well, let's have it down there. We can have a private int current. Actually, let's start at 1. Oops, I always hit save and then continue editing. And for each, now instead of the 1, we write here the add current. But we also want to increment it. So for each time we use it, we say plus plus. And if I did that correctly, we will now iterate through the rows and the columns and should build up the thing programmatically. However, I believe I have a compiler error. Yes, I'm not closing the table. I removed too much. So let's close down the table. And this could be working. Let's have a look. Okay.
I love it. Wow.
Great.
Okay.
First of all, it's way too many. Second of all,
Yeah. But it's is it 4 or was it 5 per row?
Yes, because I'm actually I'm doing some wrong because we need to create a table row per row.
Yeah.
I'm having the wrong, and then we create the table data for the amount of table data that we have. Yeah, I guess this is more correct. But how do we go about these? I'm actually not sure what the syntax is to have the plus plus included. Perhaps if I put the parentheses around, I'm actually not entirely sure. But perhaps we could do something different if we create a method here. We call this, I call it getNext. And have, because I'm not so familiar with HTML and the Blazor code, and the Razor syntax, I mean, but it do more simple approach. So we basically, so getNext could increment it and also return it. So if we return the current plus plus, then we start at 0 and use the get method here instead. This perhaps works. Let's give it a try.
Let's see.
Okay, I'm still surviving the for each
loop. It's better.
So we have way too many columns now.
Okay, 15, yeah.
But we have the right amount of rows. No, the other way around. We have way too many. Yes, we have the right amount of rows, but not the right amount of columns.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, I'm not sure. So we've iterated through the rows, create a TR per table data, and then have the columns.
Okay. Is it?
Column plus plus? No, not sure.
Is it? Maybe we only have to write one class box
yes,
per
we do.
each.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, because we have to. Yeah. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Yes. Woohoo!
Yay!
Yes.
We did it! Oh my god! But it's still not random though.
It's still not random. Okay. How do we do random? So we need. What do we need? numbers from 1 to 24 and then shuffle them,
Yeah.
basically.
Exactly, because
Okay.
we also still have the 0 in there, and we don't want the 0, but we do want a 24.
So we could create an IEnumerable. I am now missing I guess we need to, missing the directive here. I hope it's suggestible. Let me use the full name for now. System.collections.generic.IEnumerable of int, which will be our numbers. And we shall the system.collections.enumerable.range is a method that we can create. I think we can, the syntax is start at 1 and repeat 24 items.
Yes.
And now we need to shuffle these, and in the get next and return the next each. So how do we shuffle a collection or a range of items randomly?
That's a very good
super
question.
uncertain. I guess I need to Google that.
Yeah.
Do
I was
you
about to
have
say the
an
same.
idea? C# shuffle collection. I pick the Stack Overflow link. We can, okay, so we create a random object and then order by random.next, which gives a random number, and then the order is shuffled. Okay, there is also more sophisticated shuffle algorithms like the Fisher-Yates. I have a déjà vu, but let's start with the simple one.
Yeah. Was it the?
So we now say .where. This is now actually link, or it's called link, so it's in the link namespace. We can say where the number. So we apply now the lambda that we create here. That's an anonymous method we apply to each and every element in this, or actually in this collection. So we have a range from 1 to 24, and now want to shuffle that. Where we now, okay, we also need a random. So let's create ourselves a private static random, and we will use this random to get the next number. And this gives us now an enumerable. So perhaps I will create an array out of this. So eventually we have an int array. I guess an array here is preferable because the IEnumerable that we had before can only be for each, basically. We can only iterate through it, one element after the other. With the array, array has a definite length, so we can use the indexer in order to pick a certain item. No, hello, hold on, we actually don't need that. We just need to iterate through it once. So let's stick with the system. Perhaps we can just write IEnumerable of int. This should be sufficient. And we can now get a hold of this enumerator, which is, I think, the IEnumerable. It's been some time since I wrote something like this. IEnumerator of int. Where is a get enumerator? And now instead of the current, we just say, I think it's next. Not sure if this is the correct syntax actually. Let's have a look at what the compiler tells us. We have an error, but I don't see it in the error list. Let me have a brief look at this source code. Well, I guess I will open I'll do this in a C# file because I don't get all too much syntax completion here to stay in the solution. I just open the program here. Basically copy this code over. Let's say we have an I enumerable of int, and we want to get the enumerator, right? And this is the I enumerator. And the I enumerator has a it's called okay, it's move next and current. All right. So we must say enum.move next and then return the current item. I guess I also need to set up, I'm not sure why code completion doesn't work here. But let's see if this works. No, it does not. Still have a compiler error. I'm not sure what I did wrong. Am I perhaps missing namespaces? I will actually move this into a, if there is a code refactoring for that, because you can actually have the code behind in a separate file, and maybe this gives better code completion and better errors. Let me have a brief look at how this is done. So I will now create a new file that I just call the same as the Razor file, but this time, or simple with the CSS, but it's now a CS file. So we create QRCalendar.razor.cs, which is not just basically a common C# file, but we need to make this partial because the compiler creates out of the where is it? Out of, on the left hand side we have the original Razor file, and the compiler creates a C# file for that, and via the partial we can basically extend that. And all I'm doing now is moving this code over there, and it should work the very same. Let me use file scope namespaces here. That's a new feature. And yeah, now I get some errors. I messed up the syntax somewhere. So I guess I need to rebuild. Okay. Don't need this anymore. I get a couple of warnings. So let's make this perhaps static to get rid of some warnings. And that could be static too. Here's my problem. This I can't call this enum. I call this iterator. And iterate through that. And I still get a lot of warnings. That's actually that's the enumerable, and was it in the? I'm used the wrong namespace, haven't I? Okay, the enumerable.
Oh, okay.
That has the range method is in system link. I was using the wrong namespace. Okay, so we create with that a range. We can actually have a look at the signature. We have a start and a count. Mm-hmm. This returns an IEnumerable. An IEnumerable is rather naive. We can get an enumerator out of that. And the enumerator now, there is a current where we can get the item and a move next. And this is basically what's used by the for each that we okay, I'm mixing up. If we get to a for each, I will return to that. But still, this quite doesn't work. Now I'm not sure if the compiler still has the old file in it because it says there is an ambiguity. Perhaps I need to restart the solution. Why do I clean? Maybe a clean helps.
I mean, that looks good. No, it doesn't. Okay.
No.
Look good for a second, though.
I just quickly close and open this, so maybe this helps.
Okay.
Advent calendar. And okay, I have a couple of errors. So okay, it's now less errors. Woohoo! Can I basically convert from int to bool? Okay, yeah, I'm using here the where. I should have actually used the order by.
Yeah.
So we order this enumerable, and okay, now it seems to be compiling. Woohoo! Okay, now let's give it another one.
Let's see. It's exciting.
Woohoo!
Woo! Yay! That looks so good. I love it.
Where's the 24?
Two.
24s?
Where's the 24? Ah, I see it. It's yeah.
There it is.
Nice.
And so the code we are having here is. Can I switch to this? No. Is that this creates a range between 1 and 24, and now we order this range. So order by is actually having here a func. So this allows now this lambda that we have here to be passed in, and orders now by the random numbers that we have. So each number gets now a random number as an order assigned to, and then when we iterate through it, like so, then those elements are returned in the current in a random fashion. Great. Okay.
Cool.
What's next? And actually, what if I move away and then navigate back to the site? It uses the same result, but if I hit refresh, if I hit F5, then it's in a different order.
Yeah.
So because now the first is my tool has stopped working.
Oh no.
No, it's back.
Yay.
The 24th and the first are on the bottom, and if I refresh the page, they are no longer there. They're in different places. Okay, so
Great.
The random works.
Amazing.
What's next?
I guess, we've already had our time box for an hour, but like if there was like a next bit, we can either be really nitpicky and stay on this page and maybe try and have spaces between each box. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Or we could try and have like a background image, like a little Christmas tree or like a little, I don't know, Christmassy scene for a wintry forest, something like that. Or obviously we could say, no, this is good enough. And we'll go to the second layer. The one underneath where we'll have the QR codes. I don't know.
Perhaps let's see how we decide. Perhaps we definitely follow up with a bit of a CSS. I guess we left some questions open there, and then see how it goes.
Sounds good.
Should we? So the image should it be a default image, or should this image also be selectable by the user?
That's a good
The
question.
background.
I think if we want to first make the simplest possible version,
That's right. Yeah.
I think we would have to have like a standard image. We can let our viewers choose. We can give them like a couple of images to choose from, and then we can vote on which one you guys would prefer the most, and then we can put that in the background. And then hopefully, if we ever like refactor the whole AdventQRlendar, we can also make an option where we can choose the image that goes on it.
And I think we also, perhaps we need to research some images to use from a license point of view.
Sure.
This is always the fun part of software development, right?
Well, we can draw them ourselves. I can draw two, you draw two, and then we have like a little voting session on Twitter, and it's gonna be brutal. And
indeed,
yeah,
sounds fun though.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah, let's do that. That sounds great. Now I have to draw that. Cool. So we have plenty of content for the next session.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't wait. But I think I'm really happy with what we got done today. I think it's a really good start. And for our first live stream together, I'm very pleased.
It was really fun.
Yeah, I guess. Do you have a closing statement for us, or is it just?
Is it the closing statement?
Is it?
Is it time for the closing statement?
I'm not sure. What do you think?
I guess it is.
Yeah.
Do you want to fire it, or shall I?
Pardon?
Do you want to fire it, or shall I?
You can. I'll give. You can do it.
Okay, great.
I'll give it to you.
Then, thank you much for staying with us, and we'll be back.